there's different sides to our self-concept.
For
So
sure.
we've got a self-concept of how we are in love. We've got a concept of how we are in our career,
Correct.
as a friend, how we show up as a parent. All this is different spokes of self-concepts. And so going back to that example of you didn't feel that, but that when I've expressed to you in the past, I left school with no qualifications. I had a horrible self-concept and self-talk when it comes to a career for myself. I wasn't worthy of having this. But yet, with me, with finding love, that wasn't necessarily a problem for me in that area. So these are the things.
I did struggle a bit in my relationships, especially in earlier years before I was married and all that. But I always had a very high self-concept of I'm academically very bright, and I've gone to some impressive schools and all that. So you see how our self-concept plays into our life experiences, for sure.
And that's so we have to bring that into the coaching of being trying to be the best coaches we can to identify within our clients where they sit in every area, because they when they come to us, Christina, they're not necessarily aware of the self-concept in all these areas. So as a coach, this is for us to pick up on and to help them with the tools and techniques in that specific area. And there's always a knock-on effect, isn't there? You know yourself that, for me, I didn't have a bad self-concept in love, but because I had such a bad self-concept with career, with education, with feeling like I said to you that I felt thick, right? I didn't feel intelligent. And now, because I've raised my self-esteem and self-concept in that area, it's actually enhanced the love that I have from SP, because it makes me feel more worthy in all areas.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
It's a good thing to point to get over about that.
Self-concept is probably the foundation of everything. Everything, at least in conscious manifesting, if you think about it, and unconscious manifesting, obviously, but we're teaching conscious manifesting here. If you think about it, it's the foundation of everything. It's, what is self-concept? It's not just your concept of yourself. It's also, I like to say to people, it's also your expectation of how you're going to be treated. It's your expectation of what's possible for you. How do you see the world, right? What do you think are your limitations? All of that is part of your self-concept. So 100% that comes in very, very important and very high priority in coaching. And I know I'm really, really aware of all those of you who are manifesting your SP and you're going, do I need to work on self-concept to get my SP? I just want to get my SP yesterday.
I don't know whether it's a good time to bring in the time element.
The timing, yes, because that was something we touched on before. I mean, yes, we were saying that there's nothing wrong in your manifestation of your SP taking a while, in a nutshell. But we can expand more on that. But
100%. And I think it's so necessary, though. And I think it's such a shame that females, males who want to get into the manifesting journey, how they want to shortchange themselves by rushing into it, because it's a beautiful unfolding, Christina. It's something that I would never change in a million years. I got into it wanting quick fix, and what I've gained from it over time, I'd never want to go back to a quick fix again in all my life.
Exactly. And I think I've heard other coaches say the same thing. I feel the exact same way. I think that comes with some experience, and it does come with some practice of the law. And once you start observing yourself and how you've changed in the process and in the journey, that's when you start appreciating all the good things that it's done for you. And it's not about the SP. The SP is a part of it, but there are much bigger parts than that, much more important parts than that, and it's all coming back to yourself at the end of the day.
But it all dovetails together anyway. I mean, when you start having all this love, it's not to the exclusion of your SP.
Correct.
I mean, the love that I talk to you about, Christina, that I'll get, the appreciation, I've never experienced it before in all my life.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't this version of being able to receive it,
Exactly.
I wouldn't have it. And
Exactly.
so it's a necessary part of the journey itself.
So, exactly. I mean, there are so many people. I love what you said here, because there are so many people who still need to learn to be open to receiving that love from their SP and from other people. I don't know if you've seen that in your coaching. I've seen that a lot in my coaching. A lot of people don't know how to receive love. Either they don't feel worthy of receiving it, or just downright they don't know how to receive love. They feel awkward about receiving love. And that is a huge part of self-concept. But to go back to the point of time, I love what you said. It is a journey, and so it's not to be rushed. It's not something that ideally we should want to rush. And I know this contradicts the feelings and the desires of a lot of people who, like I said, they want their SP yesterday. They want them today. They want them ASAP. I get that too, but that also comes from a state of possibly you need a little more inner love, a little more inner work. I don't like to call it work, inner practice maybe, but a little more loving yourself and coming back to yourself, as opposed to looking outwards and looking at the SP as, I don't know, your savior, the key to your happiness, or anything like that.
And I think for me with that though, it's understanding about negative feelings and what they're actually there for. We love the positive feelings, Christina, don't we? We know what to do with the positive feelings all the time, right? But when the negative feelings come in, we don't know how to deal with them and how to process them. It's these somatic feelings. And this is where, when we have these negative feelings, it's good to fall back, to pull back, to slow the pace down, to process those feelings, because they're all there to teach us. Every single feeling en route, with manifesting, as far as I'm concerned, it's not to the exclusion of negative feelings.
Correct.
I'll put them on the same par, because me and you have talked about it enough, where they're the teacher. Negative feelings, a lot of the time, Christina, teach us more than the positive feelings if we allow it.
For sure.
It's whether we can sit and understand that we haven't got to rush, even though the feeling tells us we have to act. I think on the journey, when we have these negative feelings, if we let it teach us, it allows us to fall back and say, I haven't actually got to act. I can process, I can detach, like we were talking about, and not need to do anything in this moment. And that's what it teaches us, doesn't it?
Exactly. So they are, in their own way, like you said, very, very valuable and very, very good opportunities for us to grow at the end of the day. I think that's what it comes down to. But the thing is, when your ego is so latched on a certain desire, I understand and I recognize that it's very hard to appreciate that. So I get it. I get where some people are coming from. I've been there myself many, many times. I know it. I know the feeling. It's not good. I know that feeling of, all of this is good, but what about my desire? Yes, I know that. But, once you go deep enough in that journey and you develop your self-concept and you are feeling very, very solid in your power, chances are your perspective of your desire might also change. Not wanting it, although that can happen, but wanting it either with less urgency or in a healthier way, in a more balanced way, in a less anxious way. So in any event, it's going to be a win-win. And in any event, you're going to feel so much better within yourself.
Yeah, but and that's the other thing is we're so desperate sometimes to get these desired from that state and that
Yes.
space.
Yeah.
But when they come in, which we've stated that that manifestation occurs sometimes with negative emotions present, sometimes with
Yes.
positive. It's not a reflection of whether that's going to come in, but is it sustainable?
Correct.
Is it sustainable that when we're in that space and we get that desire that we think that we want,
Yeah.
are we able to keep it from that space? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no.
Yeah,
You know?
I've seen that. I've seen that in myself, which is always, a big shock. But yes, I have experienced that, and I've seen that in many of my clients who got their SPs or whatever the desire was from, like you were saying, or what they call a non-aligned state, perhaps. And then, yeah, the desire, either they had, good movement, and then it stopped, or the desire came in and then it went away again because, like you said, the primary identity of the person hadn't changed for it to be aligned enough to sustain that desire in their life.
Yeah, but then that's all part of it's to forgive as well.
It is part of the journey, absolutely.
That's
Forgive ourselves and forgive, yeah. Absolutely.
And to say that this is life. This is the 3D experience and the 4D experience.
Yeah.
That it's not to the exclusion of the human side of us. We dwell in the 4D, and that's a beautiful space, hopefully. But we have got our human side, and we do have to have these experiences. And I don't know whether you feel like this, Christina, but I wouldn't have changed any of it, the pain and the good, because it's got me to where I need to
be. Exactly. 100%. I hear that from a lot of clients, and I'm really happy to hear that. I feel like that, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And when you look in retrospect, at things, you realize that this is how it is.
Exactly. And just again to be more forgiving of ourselves.
Yes,
and
for sure.
to not rush. And I mean, these are it seems a bit patronizing to somebody who's going through those moments. But my advice to any female, male going through, and you're in that state, is to say, don't give up on yourself. You haven't got to be perfect. You haven't got to know everything.
Exactly.
But don't give up on yourself. You're worth it. You're worth the growth and the change.
Yeah.
And you'll get there.
Weren't we saying earlier that we wanted to touch on the how do I say it? Not needing to understand everything. Not just to manifest, but also as part of the journey. Like we don't need to understand every little bit and piece of how manifestation works, or how the nuances of our SP's feelings and emotions, or anything really.
Yeah. And I mean, it's very easy. That's another nice thing about with me and you, Christina, because it would be very easy for me and you to fall into that trap of trying to work everything out, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
And sparring with each other on that thing. But actually, when we have discussed things, and then we quite comfortably fall back to the, well, maybe we're just not meant to understand that part.
Well, yeah, or
okay.
maybe there will be a light bulb moment later on, which that happens a lot too.
Yeah. And this is what I've found on my own journey. Sometimes things are a little bit too in depth at those times.
Yes.
I've told you my love for Alan Watts. I discovered Alan Watts years ago, and he was a philosopher that I listened to, and he was captivating, but I couldn't understand him. And now I've come back to him of late, and suddenly I understand everything that he's saying.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
What's changed?
Your consciousness has expanded.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is. Same. I had the exact same experience with Neville. I bought the Neville book early on in my manifesting journey. I read it. I didn't understand maybe 90% of it. I put it aside, and maybe about a year later I picked it up, and then everything started making sense. And now every time I read it, it's almost as if there are new revelations coming in.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how these things work.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's the
But
expansion
it's
of
you though,
consciousness.
right, Christina? And this is what we want to get over. That there's no savior, there's no hero.
Correct.
You're the hero. You're the savior of your story, and you're worth it. You
Exactly. I love that. And I think that goes back to having a solid self-concept, developing a solid self-concept, because without that, we do tend to grasp on external things to save us in some way, whether that is, money, or I have a successful career, and so I build my identity around that, or I have an SP that needs to show me their love in certain ways so that I feel loved and I feel validated. And chances are, if your self-concept is not there or feeling loved and validated, you won't, even if your SP treats you like a queen, you won't feel this way.
That's right.
That's another aspect of it. So yeah, it goes back to the importance of self-concept.
And to further reiterate as well that even within the relationship, you're still growing. Yeah, so it never ends, Christina.
Even within the relationship, you were saying there's still growth, right? Yeah,
that's right. I mean, me and SP, we've exchanged rings now.
Is that a promise ring?
I never mentioned. And we, everything is extremely beautiful and magical and like a fairy tale as far as I'm concerned. But within that fairy tale, there's still hiccups, and we're still learning about each other, and that's the beauty. Sometimes we don't always agree, and sometimes because this is a little bit of a thing that we've dealt with, a little bit of jealousy within the relationship on both sides. We're mirroring each other. But we're growing because we're communicating well. We communicate about everything, and it's not going to stop. When you've got your desires, you're always reaching for the next thing.
Exactly. And within the relationship, you're always growing. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned jealousy. I think my husband is still jealous of me. I'm not so jealous of him, but don't tell him I said that. Of course, we're putting it out on YouTube for everyone to see. Hopefully he won't watch this part. But you're absolutely right. Within the relationship, there's always growth. So it's not that, you get your SP and then everything is always unicorns and rainbows. You will still have challenges to work through, and you will still have to go back to yourself, go back within, go figure out yourself, right?
And this is why the blueprint is so important, because you've got that base to keep falling back on. This is life. Life isn't linear. We don't get everything and then it stays that way.
Yes.
It's up and down, and it's really just falling back. I've told you myself, aside from the love, I've been going through a lot. I'm going through a divorce, but I fell back into thyself, and the things that I learned to manifest SP was so helpful for me going through my divorce journey. Now, who would have thought that? But this is how important self-concept.
You would say it's helping with your ex-husband as well, with the relationship with your ex-husband. Okay.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Yeah. And so, it's coming to the end, and hopefully, there's not hopefully, I'm manifesting it, Christina, and I'm very secure in the way that things are going to be, because I've gone through it enough times now, but I'm still going through the journey, and I'm still going through all those not very nice things, and so I have to detach.
For sure.
We have to use it within this journey. Detachment's very important in those moments, isn't it?
And how do we define detachment? Because I find that people get confused a lot when we say the word detachment, because it doesn't mean not caring. It doesn't mean being indifferent. It doesn't mean being an a-hole to people. It's more like what? It's more like coming back to yourself, right? Reasserting your value within yourself. Also accepting other people, whoever is involved in whatever situation you're dealing with.
And any time that you want to bring the tools, techniques, everything back, if that works, for me, when I'm on, high energy and everything's sort of, I don't do the walks that I like. I don't go so much in my happy place.
Right.
When things get too much, I fall back on scripting. I fall back on going into nature and being a strange tree hugger. But, these are the things that really soothe my nervous system and get me in a space of inspiration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how would you define detachment then? Like how is detachment helping you in your relationship with your SP? And then you said all the challenges with the divorce with your ex-husband. How would you say it's been helping you?
Well, I think I'll work
because I'm asking because I want people to hear, because sometimes people are scared of the word detachment. If I detach, my SP will detach from me. I want them to hear the example of how it can actually help.
It means nothing about dropping your desire. It's the opposite to dropping your desire. It's understanding that your desire is yours. You still want it, but I use it in a dual way. I use it where I use distraction. For me, female distractions, looking after my body, creaming my body, coming back to this soft, gentle music, for example, dancing, all these things. So I very much work on distracting, but then really focusing on looking at things a different way as well. How can I look at this in a more rounded perspective?
Exactly.
Taking the feelings, those harsh feelings out of it. How can I soften these feelings? And it works. It really works.
It does.
And the love's still there. The wanting, the desire is still there, but it's just softened again. That lovely word, softened.
Exactly. So you stop. In many ways, you stop taking things personally, and you, again, it goes back to self-concept, but you assume that your desire is yours. And when you are very well in your power and very very deep in your power, let's say, and very strongly stepping into your power, it's very, very easy, or much easier at least, to believe that your desire is yours, and that in itself brings detachment, because you depart from that neediness that you might have felt before. It feels like it's mine, and so that automatically detaches you. And it's working out.
If you're in a negative spiral and the feelings are very harsh, you're not in your flowy state anyway.
Correct.
There's something that's slightly off, because you're not meant to be having those feelings for any length of time. They're there to teach us. So if those feelings are present for any length of time, the stuff that you still got to figure out, and that's the thing. And that's why pulling back does that, because it allows you to then just not be in that such an anxious space.
Correct.
Stop doing what you're doing. You don't have to stop doing those things that you're doing that's creating this feeling.
Right.
And when we soften and when we pull back, Christina, inspiration just starts coming in. You start looking at things a different way.
That's right.
And so that's detachment.
That is detachment, and that is what manifests your desires at the end of the day, changing your perspective. Changing your energy around things, around how you view a certain situation, for sure.
Yeah. And me now relaunching my brand.
Let's mention that. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
And that was a great example of detachment and being in because I was chasing via push energy, push. And I was coming from it with the wrong energy. And I was pushing something that wasn't being authentically me anyway. I knew that I didn't really want to come from being nutritious lies anymore. I wanted to predominantly be the spiritual side of Jen, manifest with Jenny T, and really focus on females. I just wasn't giving myself the opportunity to solidify it. So it took for me to detach and pull back and come back into my inspiration. And now it's flowing.
Absolutely.
It's really
Absolutely.
flowing.
And now is the right timing, because you are at the right time in your journey to do that.
That's right.
It always
That's
comes
right.
back to that, right?
Of course, of course. So it feels abundant now. The options and the vision I have now from this space is it's abundant, and you know
Exactly.
that's beautiful, isn't it?
Exactly. And it helps us as coaches to actually help people and
Yeah,
from that expanded consciousness, for sure.
that's right.
For
That's right.
sure.
Hmm.
All right. Well, I think, is that everything we wanted to cover today? Or
Well, I mean, from my
I think
perspective, I
so. I
think
think we covered,
we've
because we
had
had some points, mental points. We didn't take any notes, but we had some mental points. Let's cover this and this and this. I think we
but
went over everything, right?
if there's anything that we've missed, it can be part 2, part 3,
Well,
part
yeah,
4, part
yeah,
5.
yeah. And obviously people can ask us anything they want in the comments. As
Yes.
always,
Yeah.
you're always
Yeah.
welcome to do that. You know that.
And
So,
Christina graciously said that when we, because I will let you into a lovely secret, Christina's the one that orchestrates all this. She does a smashing job. And so I'll leave it in her very capable hands, even
good
though I'm
God.
growing in that area as well. But she graciously agreed to put the video out if you can, without any
Yeah.
forcing energy pressure going on, for the 12th, and that's going to be the video to relaunch. I'm very excited. So thank you very much.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I hope that what we discussed today is of benefit to those of you who watched it. Again, if you have any questions for us, we're happy to answer. We're happy to see your comments. And yeah, probably there will be more in the future.
Yes,
between the two of us.
Of course.
Yes, thank you all so much.
We're their favourite coach.
What was
Christina, we're their favourite coaches, right? Why wouldn't they want to see us together?
Of course.
Thank you for having me.
So thank you for coming over in this virtual little date, virtual little conversation. And we thank you all for watching. We love you so much, and see you in both of our next videos. Bye.
Bye.